Quarantine fam, what is good? We're back, we're in action. Coming to you today with the quarantine fro out. So my apologies for that. It is bad. And excuse the mess, spare bedroom that I use. So, of course, what do? Just throw all my packages and boxes on the bed. Because that's the right way to do it. So anyway, today, just kind of wanted to go over a couple different things. I know with the quarantine happening and, you know, COVID-19 and all that type of stuff, people are, you know, having a little more time to reflect and become health conscious and just aware of everything. And you see all the home workouts and that people have time to now do some of that stuff. But I see a lot of times the struggle becomes not once you get going, not the process, but the beginning actually. How to start, where to start, and so I figured today I would kind of go over some tips that I give people who have asked me, family members, friends, things of that nature, and just think could be kind of helpful for you to kind of help start your journey and get that going. And even if it's something that you want to do for long term or just while you have the extra time, either way, I hope this can help you get started a little bit. So let's just get right into it, yeah? I think I did write down a couple of things, not because I'm making this up or anything, but honestly, it's because I'll get rambling on a certain thing, like one topic, and I'll forget to bring up like two other ones. So this is more, if anything, to hold me accountable. So if you see me look down, yes, I'm looking at some bullet points, but this is not pre-written, as you'll be able to tell, because the grammar may be a bit off. So yeah, just kind of where to start. I think it's important first and foremost to kind of understand what your goal is. I know it sounds really cliche, and it's said a lot, but understanding what you want out of everything at least provides some guidance in terms of setting it up, because things and variables are so dependent on that. That you may not have the same structure and the same plan as the person. There's a really good chance you won't, as a person next to you, as a person who you live with, as a person who you even do things like men's physique competitions. Those guys don't even have the same preps. So, and that's something that's down to a T. So just to show you as an example of how, you know, wide a variety it can be. So I think it's important for you, and you don't need to know exact number. Oftentimes people say, I want to lose this amount of weight, but they'll see how they look. You know, instead of 20 pounds, they see themselves at 10 pounds and actually change their goal accordingly. So I think that's really important to understand is, do I want to lose 15 pounds or do I want a six-pack? You know, do you want to lose weight? Do you want to gain some muscle? Do you want to do both at the same time? Do you want to just build healthy habits, whether that comes with you know, eating or exercise, and kind of have those sustained, but you want to start somewhere and then turn those into an everyday thing? Just important questions to kind of reflect and ask yourself, and only just because it'll help guide you a little bit further. So from that, once you kind of figure out those goals and whatnot, I think it's important to also be realistic. Be realistic with what you can do, what you have time for, and with that being said, also be honest though. So be realistic and be honest. Yes. Be aware of how much time you have in a day. Be aware of your mental health so you're not just draining yourself. But also, don't give yourself outs. Don't give yourself excuses if they're not there. So I think it's important to kind of assess that, because with that realistic and honest approach, it'll help set you up for success, to where you're not burnt out too early, but you're also getting, you know, progress and results. From there, I think it's important to look into downloading a free app, whether that's MyFitnessPal, My Macros, apps like that. Those are the two kind of popular ones, and I'll kind of put those images in this area just floating randomly, because so that way you have kind of a visual and you understand what you're looking for. But what's good about those apps is you're able to insert food that you eat throughout the day, and you can even scan barcodes, which is even nicer. And so it takes the food directly for you and counts it, and you just have to figure out kind of what a serving is, and you input it. Now, for this first, I'd say week or so, I would not change your diet. What I would do is just track it. So the first week you're kind of into the flow of things. Just insert everything, be kind of diligent about it, even if you want to do it as you eat your meal, because that's what I'll do sometimes. I'll make my food, and as I'm eating there, instead of playing on Instagram or watching a YouTube video, I'll insert my food, and it doesn't take very long. And what's nice too is once you've inserted a food, it's in your history, so it stays there, so you can just find it the next time and insert it again. The reason why I say don't change any of your food, because we're going to try to create a baseline. You want to see what you've been doing, and now if you haven't been tracking or you don't live a certain routine or regimen, there's a chance that it fluctuates, and that's why I say give yourself a week, because you probably don't eat the same Monday through Sunday, you know, where somebody who is a little more regimen or has been doing this kind of has an idea of how they've been eating. You may have no idea. Or you may have an idea and be totally wrong, and that's why I think it's important to download these apps. Because what that'll do is after that first week of not changing your diet at all, don't try to make any changes that you normally want it, because you're only going to screw up kind of your baseline. It's really important to get a solid baseline of where you are at currently and how you've been intaking. Because from there we know how to make the adjustments. Now with that, you can kind of assess after that week, you know, assess and kind of see how you've been eating, and then kind of plug in what your goals are, and it'll show you a baseline caloric intake, macro intake. You can change the percentages if you want to do a little higher protein, a higher carb, low fat, higher fat, low carb, what of that, you know, any of that nature and stuff like that. So what that'll do is allow you to see a baseline, provide some awareness so you know how you've been eating, and you can kind of see what changes you need to make. Now here's the fun part, I would say, and this is optional, but what I would do if I were you is to kind of create some of that awareness even more, is look into simple, very simple, you don't need to go too in depth, but simple explanations and definitions of what those macronutrients do for you. The reason why that's important, and that's protein, fat, and carbs. Why that's important, I believe, is because it would give you an awareness of how the food works, how your body processes the food, and why you may prefer high carb over low fat, or low fat over, or why is it just carbs and fat that need to be modified and protein doesn't stay. Now I know I could tell you all of that, but I think it's important for you to kind of figure out on your own, and it wouldn't take you very long. It's not a long process to go over. Like I said, it's very simple understanding of definitions, and I'll just give you a quick pointer on that. Is protein's the main macronutrient used for recovery, for building. It's thermogenic as well, and things of that nature. So it's used for, simply put, building muscle and recovering that muscle. And on the flip side of that, carbs and fats are used more for energy sources. And I'm trying to be as simple as possible, so apologize, you know, for the delay in my speech. But carbs and fats are mostly used for energy sources. Now fats is used for a couple more things than that, but like I said, keeping it simple. So then therefore they will be the first thing stored as what's quote unquote stored energy, aka fat, when you have an excess amount. So that's why usually those two are modified, and your protein kind of stays stagnant once you've figured out the proper number for that. But like I said, just kind of do your own simple research on that, and it'll help you kind of provide some awareness. It'll help you a lot to, when you turn the can around on your food, or at the store you grab the bag and you turn it around and you just see how many grams of this, and this, and you understand it a little bit more. Not to top level, but enough to where you go, okay, this is where I can make an adjustment. Or like I was getting to earlier, that's where the fun comes in, because you can understand how you can modify it and adapt it to fit your lifestyle, and where you can get creative and have some fun with meals, or but still make them relatively cleaner to fit your macros, you know. You know, IIFYM if it fits your macros type lifestyle. That's another one that a lot of people like to use for just healthy day-to-day cleanups and cuts and stuff like that. So it keeps it to where you can have some fun food still, but you modify it or portion it off. So from there, the thing I would say most is once you have the week there of tracking without changes, I would say once you've made those changes, stick to it for about 2 weeks. I think 2 weeks is really important. Now, give or take, right? It's very dependent on the person, but 2 or 3 weeks I think is enough time where you've implemented whatever that goal is, whether it's the exercise, whether it's the diet, whether it's a mix of both. Stick to it for about 2 weeks, and this can be a really powerful thing initially because it turns what you were doing, what's new and feels weird, into routine and part of your day-to-day, and now it'll feel weird when you don't do it. So initially it starts off feeling weird when you've added these lifestyle changes in, and now you've gotten to a point, I say around 2 weeks, but like I said, it's very dependent, where now it feels weird if you aren't paying attention to what you're eating, or you aren't getting in your daily exercise, or you know, you aren't trying to make healthy decisions. Those are all things that eventually become habitual and eventually turn into lifestyle changes. And that's the big picture of it all. That's the down the road. But I think it's important to start with those simple changes, and then you find routine can be so powerful. It really can be. It can be detrimental to your mental health if you're not being able to live your routine. I think we are seeing it a lot right now with the quarantine. A lot of people are throwing off their routine and their day-to-day schedules, and some people are having trouble with that. Not everyone's appreciating the fact that they're stuck in a certain environment or have this downtime. A lot of people thrive off of routine and structure, you know, and there's not a lot of that right now. So for a lot of people, I know their mental health is kind of going to the wayside because they're not sure what to do, and they're so used, and they've set up their life to live this certain way that they're struggling with this, me being one of them for sure. So routine and structure can be so powerful. So allow it to become your routine, force it to be, until it now becomes weird when you're not doing it. And that's how it sticks. That's how it's gonna become long lasting. That's how it's gonna become a lifestyle change. But if you just go a couple days and you go, this sucks, yeah, it might. You may actually enjoy it. You may start to feel some of the benefits early on, and you may start to feel better and more energized naturally, and you may feel the, you know, the endorphins from the exercise. Those are all real things. But I could guarantee by 2 weeks you for sure will feel all that. And I can tell you that that's the part that becomes addicting, you know? That's the part that'll stick with you and that you'll miss if you're not participating in it. So those are kind of my tips, and just kind of where I leave you with that, without getting too personal and in depth, because it's kind of hard to nutshell everything when every person's so different and every person's lifestyle is so different currently, and everybody's baseline's different, you know? So hopefully those kind of get you started, whether it's a nutritional thing, whether it's a workout routine, whatever it is. As always, if you have any questions, if you need any more in depth, feel free to reach out to me, DM me on Instagram, comment down below, whatever it is. But I hope these can help you at least kind of get started, or at least give you an understanding of how you should start, and take that step forward. Take that step forward. You won't regret it. There's a reason it's become so cliche and people have become jaded by hearing about it, but there's a reason exercise and eating right has been told and proven really to be good for you. It's good for you in the long run in multiple ways, and I just hope that you take that step forward, and hopefully these tips kind of helped you get there. So as always, let me know how you like it. Enjoy the workout. Alright, coming at you with quarantine workout number 2, some back and bis today. And we're going to start off with some bent over rows with dumbbells. And I actually prefer these more often than not than the barbell rows, just because of the depth and contraction I feel like you can get. Because of limitations where if you had a straight bar like the barbell, it's going to hit your stomach, and you're not going to be able to drive your elbows as back. As you see, the dumbbells can pass my body line. So we start out with some regular dumbbell rows, and now we're going to switch it up and go more of a neutral grip. And with this one, as you go forward, you'll see my stretch forward because I'm stretching out my lats, and I want to fully stretch out and then drive my elbows back. I'll change the angle here so you can see. Stretch it out and then drive my elbows back and down. And with these exercises, you'll see I don't have any modifications included in the clip, because for the most part I'm only using the dumbbells, so there's no surface that you'll be missing that I'm using. So
That being said, next exercise here, deadlifts. And we're just using the dumbbells. It'll be probably pretty light, but really trying to work on that stretch in the lower back and the squeeze at the top. Not trying to overextend though, not trying to throw anybody's back out. Just getting the lower back some work. Next exercise, we're moving on to the best body part. I'm just kidding. But biceps. So we have some regular curls here. This is actually more of a supinated grip, so with your palms facing towards you. And I'm just going to switch up the angle here so you can kind of see. But really kind of keeping those pinkies up and level at least with the rest of your hand. I think you'll feel more of a peak contraction. Moving on now to hammer curls. You'll see I pin my shoulder blades back initially, trying to get those delts not as activated, because if you didn't know, your bicep runs up through your front delt, and so sometimes your shoulders will try to take over. So I really try to pin my shoulder blades back and expose my chest. Here's another angle for you, and really focus on pulling up through purely just the bicep. Now for this last exercise, I really want to point out the focus on the back here, because reverse flies can also be used for rear delts. Because of limitations with equipment, I think it's important here to include these. And now you'll see I drive my elbows back and down towards my hips rather than straight out. And what that does is that'll activate more of my shoulder blade region and my back rather than my rear delts and shoulders. Alright, there we have it for the workout. As always, here's my Instagram. Feel free to DM me, comment below with any questions, modifications you may have. And on top of that, please do me a favor, give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and feel free to hit the subscribe button, as I really appreciate it, and more workouts are on the way. As always, keep killing it, stay sane in this quarantine. Talk to you guys next time.